As if our lives passed before our very eyes, in 40 minutes, you saw an entire season. You're listening to Can't Read, Can't Write. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Can't Read, Can't Write, the podcast that proves Spartans can talk. I'm Mike Jones, joined as always by a humble man who needs only but the all-day special at Dagwoods here in the snowy Great Lakes state, Kevin Greck. It's not here for me, Kevin. And the man who just drove his SD4L slingshot back from the Dominican, Alex Plum Cumming. Plum, you are looking very tan today.
I am, and this bright ring light that I have is not washing me out completely. So,
finally, you don't look like you're a ghost haunting your own house.
Excellent. Normally, it looks like it's positioned like worksite lighting, as if you were a hostage. So, you're crushing it today.
What can I say? Thank you, Dominican sun. You really do the best.
In case anyone missed it, this is a reference to our social media presence, where Plum, you grabbed some props, and what did you do? What did you take an afternoon doing?
Well, prop comedy, yeah. It was nice. Had a nice evening watching us beat Mississippi State, the lesser MSU. Had scored a couple Cuban cigars at the resort, and so lit one of them in celebration of the game. And when the advice of these two chuckleheads, donned my straw hat and went in the style of a former Spartan, and coming in my own way. Let's say that. Yep. So check us out on Twitter. Nice
and
nice
Instagram.
Portrait. Mm-hmm. It's on the gram too. Look at you guys.
First shots on the gram.
Mm-hmm. I do like that the social media manager has on the gram a section that's sort of can't read, can't write in real life, and then everything that's podcast related content.
Right.
Well done, social media manager. I don't know how to do that. We do want to thank everyone for listening, and if we could ask a small favor, please share the pod with Spartans in your life. Rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Of course, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And if you've not had a chance, check out our YouTube channel at Spartan_pod. Can't read, can't write. Please subscribe, comment. These things are apparently important, and we appreciate you all engaging with the show. Greg, give us the outline.
Well, we begin on the green wall.
Open that beer.
Yeah, where, speaking of prop comedy, we are popping bottles in celebration of the end of the basketball season, because truly I feel relief, honestly, more than anything. So we'll cover the NCAA tournament, the two games that happened there. We'll have a look forward at the program. We'll talk about hockey, and then also gymnastics as well, who both won Big Ten championships. Basketball, take note. Then we'll go off Grand River. We'll talk about other happenings in the wide world of sport. And then, as always, take your Twitter questions, because there aren't that many games for us to preview. So,
very good.
Kevin, it's your turn to not be an ally this time, because you missed that we're going to mention the women's basketball tournament appearance as well.
That was under basketball. Both of them are done. And I'm relieved about both.
Turns out.
The same way, I guess.
It turns out.
All right, let's head behind the green wall. We do have a couple of games to talk about, though I don't know how much time we're going to spend on the games in particular, because we will never see this collection of individuals play basketball together again. And so there's not a lot to be learned from these games as it relates to what the team can improve upon. But surely we can look at some performances. Obviously, we'll have some returners next year. Let's start with the Mississippi State game. And we don't need to belabor it, but that felt good. We saw a nice performance against Minnesota. We saw a tenacious performance, ultimately in a loss against Purdue. And then we play Mississippi State, a team that had been credited with toughness, had taken down some big teams this season, and had a convincing 69-51 win. Things were feeling great.
And that was at a time when we were told the SEC was by far the best basketball conference in the country.
There it is.
We hadn't seen yet what would happen to the SEC across nearly all of its games, but then it seemed like a big deal. And I think this game was Tyson Walker, Jaden Akins, Mady Sissoko. One guy that we are going to miss desperately, I think, moving forward, really came alive in this one and delivered a standout performance. And then two guys that maybe we'll be seeing more of, kind of like demonstrating why you might want that to be the case. Mady Sissoko like comes off that Purdue game and like gives a great defensive effort, is making moves underneath the basket, like is like where has this guy been? Who is this person now all of a sudden? And Jaden Akins comes alive. He shoots 50% from three. He's very good in his shot selection, pretty good on defense, I thought, as well. So those two guys, I know Mady Sissoko is not, contributing substantially in the scoring column, but like still
9
showing
boards
us
in 17 minutes.
Exactly. Showing us that you can contribute in other ways. And we maybe should be, under the circumstances, if he comes back, pleased to use a scholarship in that way. And then Jaden Akins showed us like, I can be this guy sometimes. I promise you. We just need to see it more consistently. So those were my two takeaways. What did you guys think?
Davis Smith with what has to be the coolest three shot and made in the entire season. In some ways, the most meaningful. That was
assisted by Stevie.
100%. No, that was really it. Trey Holloman in 17 minutes didn't show me a ton to love, to be completely honest with you. I get that it's hard. AJ had one of his better nights against Mississippi State. So I think
also
Trey found himself in... one of his better performances in the season. So, I think Trey got lost a couple times in transitions. There were times in this game when Malik was also completely lost. Again, one of his better performances, and also, just times where his like laggard hustle and anyway. So I don't know. Carson Cooper did nothing for me in this game, at all. Spent more time fiddling with his face mask than he did playing basketball, which we saw repeated at North Carolina too. I don't know. Just not impressed. Not impressed in the way that one should expect to be with a winning performance. So,
yeah, it certainly, to your point, Greg, about Jaden, it felt like an indicator of, well, this has kind of been a thing all year, right? Like Tyson Walker gets 19 points, 3 steals, 3 boards, like has a nice game, surprise. Like, of course he did. He had a nice game because that's what he does. But it's who's going to step up behind him. And so, Akins comes with 15. I know I was just being shitty about it, but like Hoggard had other than the 5 turnovers, had a really nice stat line. 3 for 6 from the field, 1 for 2. It was measured, which is what we've seen most effective from AJ Hoggard. And Malik with 10 points is, I'm not going to totally fight you, Plum, but like it was fine, right? Like, but the question was, is Jaden Akins going to continue to show up? And he did not.
He didn't. Yeah.
And so, did
maybe if
Booker
anything there's
play
to complain about in this game, it's gave us hope. It said, here's the blueprint. Potentially we could make something out of this tournament. It gave us one last little sprinkle to be like, see, it showed a little leg, Yep. And then
it's as if they wanted to kick us in the dick one more time.
Yeah.
I would argue that they did that in the first 10 minutes of the Carolina game.
Correct.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yes, it let us all get on a 3-way phone call afterwards and be like, maybe we will be talking about the second weekend of the tournament. Maybe it is possible. I don't think they can put 5 games together, but maybe they can put 3 games together.
They
So,
couldn't
who
put
knows?
2 together. They couldn't
Maybe
put 1.5
4
together.
Yep.
Indeed.
So here we are. Anything else on this one before we talk about Carolina and then pour one out for this season?
No, let's talk Carolina, because I think to your intro, which I think was exceptionally well written. No, I did not write it.
Because it was dull. You could tell it was dull.
No, it was good. I actually really liked it, and I think it told the truth. You did. You saw the entire season in this North Carolina game, and how you go from being up, what were we up 12 at one point?
Yeah, something like that. I think
we were up 12
to losing by 16, 17 is 16 is well, it proved this rule, didn't it? That when Tyson scores, what is it? Tyson scores more than 20, we will lose the game.
We do not win. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, well, it's funny you bring that up because I was taking notes on the game as it was happening. And one of my first notes was Tyson's on fire early. This isn't good. Because indeed what happened was Tyson's cooking, and then everybody enjoyed the Tyson show and just watched.
Stopped.
Yeah. They actually, I heard that CBS added most of the players from our team to the viewership numbers for that game that they're releasing to the advertisers. It's going to be like 1.5 million and 6, viewers of that game. So
it's good. It's really good. Good job, you.
But if we're focusing on the future for just a second, Xavier Booker, I guess we're happy with the performance there. Put in some meaningful minutes. I thought contributed okay. Trey Holloman.
We didn't talk about his last game, but Booker also had a fine previous game. He held his own.
Yeah, that's right.
Trey had a terrible tournament. Trey needs to work on lobs all offseason.
Oh my God.
That's
right.
0 for 3 on lobs.
Yeah. Yeah, Trey was out of his depth. I think that's the point. There's something which Big Ten play should be preparing you for this, but guy did not look.
Yeah, I just can't worry about Trey. We've seen enough, right? Like, there's a body of work there.
Sure.
That sophomore had a couple bad games. That's not great. You don't love it this time of year, but
right.
I'm not worried about Trey taking over on this team. There is clearly a personality difference between him and what we've seen heretofore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Kohler, if we're going to continue to look at future, right, or maybe future, who's to say?
Yeah.
Jackson Kohler played minutes in both of these games, and we're not saying his name a lot. I don't know. It seemed like Hubert Davis called a timeout and said to the North Carolina team, look at your jersey. You're better than this. You're tougher than this.
You're one seed. Yeah. And
they came out and they put a body on everybody and played tougher. Now, it's fair to say, if Michigan State hadn't missed some free throws early in the game, maybe they put a bigger lead than 12, and that influences the ebb and flow of the game.
Speaking of timeouts and the ebb and flow of the game.
Yeah. I mean, who's the Ingram? Harrison Ingram went 7 for 27 on 3-pointers over the last 6 games, then scores 5. In
5 on us,
they were banking stuff in, but that's what a winning team does when they get hot.
That's right.
You've created your own luck because you've willed yourself into something.
Yep.
And yeah, Greg, sorry to keep rolling, but I don't know. When are we going to not complain about Tom Izzo not taking timeouts? But you made the point, was it last week or 2 weeks ago, about Tom Izzo reserving his timeouts for the tournament when he knows the season might be over?
Yeah. he did eventually do it. He waited until the lead had entirely evaporated. And we were down 2.
Yep.
So like he's capable. We've seen it already this year. We've seen it in years past, and we saw it in this game. It's just when T for Tom, please do this earlier. You do it.
Yeah.
Your guys are delicate. They're little snowflakes. They cannot handle seeing the entire lead evaporate in 2 minutes. You call timeout. You rally the troops. You yell at them on TV. You do whatever you have to do. And then we see what happens after that. But you can't. Yeah. I mean, that was the game, right? It was over at that point, basically. Yeah,
because
we never led again after that lead evaporated.
No, that's correct.
Yeah, we went into the half down 9.
9.
Yep.
Yeah, that is a swing. That's wild.
And then pulled it back to like single
4.
We got in.
Are we within 2? I know we were within 4.
We got it to 2.
We were in a possession range with a couple minutes left, with a couple minutes into the second half. And then it just sort of, it got away from us, and then it got ugly.
Further away from us. Yep.
Yeah. We dance around it. Do we want to talk about the seniors and their performance in this game?
What do you want to say?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. But then I think I don't know. Does it matter in some ways? Does the senior performance in this game matter in the sense that they're not here anymore?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the fact of the matter is...
Well, you're right insofar as we've not heard conclusively that AJ Hogarth is not returning. And that is a...
Sure.
That is the only senior who absolutely cannot return. And it is the only senior who consistently fucked the dog so badly at every key moment. Not in this game, to be sure, but historically, inexcusable and not good.
AJ goes 1 for 10 in this game. I don't know for a guy who doesn't have a shot, like can't shoot. His game is getting layups. To get blocked 4 times is alarming. Ends the game 3 points, 4 assists, 3 turnovers, 0 blocks, 0 steals, picked up 3 boards. Like,
in a game where we led, in a game where we led by 12, this is the performance of the point guard? What are you fucking talking about?
It's became the Tyson Walker game. Like, that's...
Yep.
But that's my point. How is this acceptable?
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that he continued to start, and I get that Trey showed us no confidence in Mississippi State, so what else is Tom going to do? But my God, Trey at his worst could not have been as inconsistent or as costly, because at the end of the day, AJ was the leader, the individual who was to be the leader of the team, to be looked at, respected, to get your tempo, your culture, everything from. And inept, unable, unwilling. And so again, how this is not, I mean, I get that Tom has said everything that he about can, wink, nod. Don't worry, he ain't coming back. Mm-hmm. But, oh girl, I need a graphic. I need a very nice, lovely Michigan State basketball program graphic thanking number 11 for his years of service. Goodbye now.
Spartan for life.
I will say something nice, though, about a senior. Malik Hall, 17 points, 9 rebounds, a block. And here's the thing that I will say that I actually, hear me out, is the nicest thing I'm going to say about Malik. 0 for 3 from behind the arc, which you wish you'd made him, but he was taking the shots because he wanted to win.
Yes.
And so Malik is gone. I am now prepared to say you put up 2 stinkers, Malik, but we would not have been in the tournament without him.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at times you turned it on and were an excellent player, and you were the closest thing this year to senior leadership that resembled the identity of Michigan State that we all had known. The reality is that Malik Hall, much like Aaron Henry, probably should have always been the third dude on the team.
Yeah.
And because we didn't have a post presence, had to be our post presence. Like he was forced into a light that is that's not his fault, and he shouldered it about as well as I think could be expected.
Yeah, that's right.
And again, I will point to the 0 for 3. I don't know the last time we saw him take three-pointers in a game. Yeah. But that to me strikes me as stat of somebody who wanted to win and wanted to try and win and step up and just missed.
To be abundantly clear, Jonesy, in all of that, was that an apology to Malik Hall?
Malik, you know why I said the things that I had to say to get the performance out of you that I needed to see, and you stepped up to the plate. I won't apologize for my tactics, but I am here to say that you are as much a Spartan dog for life as there could be for somebody who didn't transfer into this program. And so,
or plum, as I understand it, someone that, right, exactly. Someone that didn't transfer into this. I got you. Okay. You were already streets ahead of me.
But we should also maybe say something about Tyson. Go ahead. Plum.
No. I want to go back to Malik. No, that's okay. Because I've also been injudicious with my program at Malik Hall. What I will say about Malik is he is a genuine dude. I think he is a genuinely good dude.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is someone that cares deeply about not only the program institutionally, but about his fellow players. He does a lot with them on the court. His body language toward guys and toward Tom is always open. Always like open, receiving, supportive. And to your point around senior leadership, he is absolutely the senior leader that this team needed out of AJ. And again, to your point, was forced into positions that weren't necessarily his. How much more so to be that leader behind a point guard who's poorly, like a Cassius style leadership? That's a national championship winning program in terms of culture setting. To backstop and support that, to be the good guy when the good guy has to be the asshole. AJ was just never anything consistent. And so you force Malik into this other thing. He did have stinkers, no doubt about it. He also had games, 17 points. That's exactly the kind of performance out of Malik that I think we needed to see, and we did see in the UNC game. I know we lost, but this was the game. If this is the game you're going to go out on, I think this is probably this game maybe in some ways is the fair representation of Malik's career as a Spartan. And I'm glad that he took the big shots because he pussyfooted around a lot of them and refused to. And it was nice to see him, to your point. So I guess I'm echoing mostly of what you said, but I just wanted to add that part about the kind of guy that I think he is.
Yeah.
In those ways, I will miss Malik. And others, more ways I will not. But
you do. He does feel like the kind of player you wish he'd been on another team.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, there are two of those on this team. Tyson Walker. Tyson Walker, we point out, scores over 20 points, thus we lose. And it was the same here. A guy that obviously put his body on the line, was injured going into the season. We kind of forget all of the narratives from the beginning of the year. Remember when it was, this team is so deep that like we'll probably only play Tyson like 25, 30 minutes a game. Remember those days?
Yeah.
Remember those carefree days of yore? But he clearly, whether it was the groin, whether it was a wrist, whatever it was, clearly a guy putting his body out there, taking the big shots at the big moments. Maybe, deciding where he was going to output his energy, whether that was on offense or defense, prioritizing, we'll say, to be as charitable as possible. Truly a guy that you wish had a different surrounding cast that could have been part of a championship winning team. Unfortunately, he was on this team. Well, maybe fortunately he was on this team. I don't know where this team is right now without Tyson Walker. So, I think he deserves a big shout out, and is a guy that unfortunately will not have the legacy that he deserves as a result of the time that he was wearing the jersey.
That's right. It'll be interesting to see, if this team makes a Final Four run, or it wins the national championship. I know that that's silly, but like Tyson, from a production standpoint, did enough that you could see a conversation being had about a number up in the rafters, purely from what he produced here. If they go to a natty, I could see some people remembering Tyson Walker, because it would have been on his back as somebody who had a big legacy here. We'll never know that conversation because it didn't happen.
It did not. Correct. It did not.
But, certainly an electric player, a ton of fun to watch. And to your point, like, it's odd that his legacy will likely be that he kept this streak alive.
Yeah.
But for him, I don't know, man. Bleak.
Yeah, to the extent.
So I guess if it wasn't Tyson, they would have gotten somebody else.
Right. So there you go, Tyson. Congrats. Maybe your number could have been in the banners, but also if it wasn't you, it would have been someone else. This is we're all just sort of feeling our way through this. Anything else on the games before we talk about the program generally?
Oh, I think it's, we just memorialized Tyson and Malik, and I think we'd be remiss to not say, AJ Hogard, you did wear a Michigan State jersey.
And it had number 11 on it. And you should not search for that number on Twitter.
And good. You should know. I'm going to, and again, we're about to talk about why what I'm about to say is wrong. If I was as inept at my job as you were at yours, and I was paid the amount of money that you are, I would expect to be assailed not just from the stakeholders in my field, but from my colleagues, from my bosses, probably from my family. So yeah, you should get on there. You should get on there, because at the end of the day, AJ has only AJ to blame for everything that did not go right with AJ, and thus for our team. That is why I say good riddance.
Good riddance. Cheers.
Well, let's table.
Let's put this
I do want to get. I want to get to the conversation about how we talk about players, because I think there's a lot to be said there that's not necessarily specific to this team. So let's table that for a second.
Okay.
And instead, Plum, you bring that up, but in the post game, Tom Izzo's looking squarely in the mirror about that it's his responsibility to connect with players. It's his responsibility to motivate players.
Yeah.
And that he clearly failed.
Yeah.
A lot was made of the quote in particular that he said, we're going to get back to making a deeper run in this tournament, or I'm going to die trying. As nice of a quote as that was, I actually thought the more meaningful quote came just after that, where he said, I'm paraphrasing, but I've been yelling about how the world is changing.
Yeah.
And instead of doing that, I should accept that the world has changed and go win. Mm-hmm. And it was an acknowledgement that, like, dude, you sound like old man yelling at cloud all the time. It's comical how often you say the exact same things. But there was a real tone to, I don't like what we're doing in the sport, but I recognize that these are the rules that I'm playing by and everybody else is playing by. And so I'm going to compete to win under these rules. And it felt really different from Tom. There was an acknowledgement that it is as close as I've heard him get to saying I was wrong.
He'll say that he was wrong at times, but it's in sort of a like, we all agree that I'm a Hall of Fame coach and I'm gonna do a little performative thing here. And I think I agree with you. I think this was a time where it's more like, I'm not a Hall of Fame coach in today's basketball, but I'm going to go become a Hall of Fame coach in today's basketball again, or do whatever it takes to become a Hall of Fame coach in today's basketball environment. And that's different from him just being at the end of games being like, well, I can't blame the players. It must be me, the Hall of Fame coach that we all agree actually is spectacular. So yeah, I'm with you on that. And then he hits the recruiting trail immediately the following day. Yeah. But we've talked about this already.
Yeah.
He's got all the resources that he needs to be tremendously successful in this new basketball. I mean, you're seeing other programs, ones with Jayhawks having little stands getting bounced. Like, he can now operate on the same terms that Bill Self's been operating on for 20 years.
Yeah.
Because he's got all the NIL bag in the world that he could possibly want. I was thinking about this earlier. We make a lot. It's like, it's kind of funny that Ishbia is now around all the time, like, just because he's got money. But like, are there any other college basketball programs where a former player is a billionaire? I can think of one.
Yeah,
MSU has
B. Yeah, no.
MSU has 2 billionaire former players. So if you want to talk about resources and NIL and that kind of stuff, this program is positioned to win in a way that many aren't.
Yeah.
And I think it's time that Tom Izzo takes advantage of that. These guys are already getting paid on this team, but the roster management side of things, in addition to getting them paid and how they're getting them paid and that kind of stuff.
Well, it's the recruiting. My God. Hello.
Yeah.
And out of the portal, so they'll stay with us, most importantly.
So they'll be the real true Spartans.
Stop recruiting high school juniors now. College juniors, Tom.
All right.
College juniors.
All right, Coach Prime. That's enough over there. What are you doing?
Not only did he go recruiting, but he also addressed he was asked about players coming back. And so we've kind of danced around this. He mentioned that before the season, Madi wanted to finish up at Michigan State, and that AJ before the season was probably done. That kind of felt wild. He said that, I guess, in a way. Like, he did it politically correct, right? But that seemed about as much of him saying, this is what I'm open to, as you could possibly say it.
Pretty telegraphed, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, if Madi comes back, that leaves one open scholarship, assuming no one else leaves. So, I don't know.
I think someone else is going to leave.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the money on one of Jaden Akins or Carson Cooper, at least.
You think
he's not on the team next year?
Couch has said twice now that he thinks Akins is back.
I won't be surprised at all if Carson Cooper's not. I of those two, I would have given it like 60-40. Carson Cooper more likely to be gone than Jaden Akins.
And you think it's because
and not Kohler.
My comment?
Oh, yeah, I guess maybe I should put Kohler in there too.
I mean, Kohler should totally be gone. I don't even think of him. Like, I just don't think of him. Like, when I see him in games randomly, I'm like, oh, that guy. God, what is his name?
He's got to go back to the Teen Wolf look. It was
all
in the Teen Wolf look It was ferocious. It was his persona. And then he went clean shaven, and similarly, his production cleaned up as well. I want that teen wolf back.
Yeah.
That would be my note for
him.
for Jackson Kohler.
Yeah, well, I'd get that nose like that and how, because Carson Cooper in that mask did himself no favors. And I hope whatever team is good with masks, is there like the team Zorro? I don't know. There's got to be some team that is good with masks. That's where he belongs.
Yeah, Zorro team. They didn't make the tournament this year.
That's right.
But they're pretty good. They're a solid program. Zorro team.
Program. Southern North Dakota at Hoople, Zoroastrians.
The Zoroastrians
I
of
think
Hoople.
that's a very different. I don't know. I think there's a lot to be said that could be said, and I don't know that we need to spend all the time on it. I guess I'll just say, though, that I look at next year's team, and while there's plenty of things to be excited about, I don't see production at the 5 yet. And so I don't know how you roll back with. I mean, we're gonna assume Xavier Booker's a 4. That's what he should be playing. That's what's gonna happen.
Yep.
But so I don't know how you roll it back with Madi, Carson, and Jackson Kohler, and I don't know how you then use your one scholarship to go get a 4th big man.
You got it.
And because you need size on the wing. This team, next year's team, is short.
Well, and that's
physically short.
I don't know. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong. I don't. Izzo doesn't seem like the guy who is pushing people out of his team, but I hope I'm wrong on that.
I think he has before. I think there have been times where it's a mutual parting of ways has happened.
That's what I hope for Jackson and Carson, frankly, is this create some space. Jaden, though, to me, has not had any kind of the performance necessary to be getting recruited by a better team, by a blue blood with more upside for him than us. I wonder if you would challenge me on that assertion, but he's not been good enough to get recruited somewhere good. And I don't think he's played poorly enough where going to play at Oakland or something makes any sense for him. And I don't think Izzo would want to push him out because he's been on the upswing. So I don't know. That's why I was really surprised to hear you say that, Greg, about Akins. I don't know what spot he fits into.
I mean, there's other
that makes
types
sense.
of programs. There's the whole mid part of Power 5 teams. Like there's like 50 teams that fit between MSU and an Oakland. Like there's a lot of room out there.
But with more money or with more playing time,
that's true. That's true. This might be a
two things
mutual.
Don't exist.
This might be a mutual parting of ways situation if Izzo decides not to go that direction with Jaden Akins. That's true.
I guess that's my point. I unless it was Izzo, I don't see Jaden choosing to leave, and I just would be really surprised if Izzo pushed him out.
And in fairness to Jaden Akins, almost certainly the feedback that he got when he entered the the NBA draft last year,
he might be just as successful in the NFL draft as the NBA draft.
Was that almost certainly was about creating for himself and others, more time with the ball in his hands, and the fact of the matter is that when AJ and Tyson both came back, that Jaden Akins played the exact same game he played the year before, and that's not really Jaden Akins' fault. Now we can and we'll ask the question when next season comes around, but the reality is that Jaden Akins, in times with the ball in his hands, didn't do a ton of creating. His shooting was streaky this year, and so you got to fix that if you're going to do anything. But you have to wonder next year, does Jaden Akins play more as the 2 guard and less as this 3 that's sitting in the corner waiting to shoot a shot?
So now that the season is over, Jaden Akins shot 36% on threes, which is fine. It's not good. It's not bad. What really stands out to me watching every game of his career is this year he had 14 dunks. Remember when he was the hyper athletic one, the slashy hyper athletic one that could get to the hoop? What happened to that, Jaden Akins? Is he still in there? Can we find him? Does he need electroshock therapy to like reemerge that character? Like, where is Mr. Hyde? I saw a lot of Jekyll this season. And he was basically like, oh, we've got a new dunker guy on the team. I don't dunk anymore, I guess. Because, I mean, what is it? How many dunks did he have in years past? I'd have to go back and look at that. But, like,
I don't know that it's as many as you think, because I don't know that the way that we utilize it, I just don't know that there's a lot in the same way that Gabe Brown like didn't dunk all that much.
Yeah.
And you're like, how, what? You're tall and can jump high. Like,
do dunk more. Do dunk, please.
And which maybe is a broader conversation about the offense we've been running for a while now. And now that you have a couple dudes who are super athletic, what are we doing to like back cut people more often? Actually, you're going to have 3 dudes who are legitimate, like above the rim players in Xavier Booker, Jaden Akins, and Cohen Carr next year. What are you going to do to leverage that athleticism?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So,
anyway.
I vote we move on. This team, we've got plenty of time to speculate.
Yeah, that's
all
good.
Right. Should we talk about how we talk about players?
No, I think at this point we've said all we. Let's not.
I don't think we need to reflect. There's no mirrors in this house.
It's so good.
Do you want to tell everyone why we might want to think about the way that we discuss players?
Yeah. To be very clear, our group chat was not particularly kind in our feelings after the game. But
when is it kind? Is the better question.
And we've certainly said some things that I think we all maybe wish that we could have used a little bit different phrasing on. We do produce content that at times we try and get folks to laugh, but like I think sometimes we've gone a little hard on players in ways that aren't constructive. But people did it online in the aftermath of the game in ways that were very unkind and was seen by players. Tom Izzo talked about this in his post-game conference or press conference about players seeing this. And I think we've talked here about this tension between the fact that these players are being compensated well more than we are in our individual capacities in our jobs, and
that's speculative. We don't know that. Keyski,
while they're not being
allow that, but continue.
While they're not professional in the sense that this isn't their job, like they also have other obligations, like they have to go to classes and maintain a grade point average for some reason. And technically their compensation is for their name, image, and likeness, but the way these collectives are working, they're being paid to play basketball. So there's a tension between this notion of amateurism, which they're not, and student athletism, which they are student athletes. They're also not adults in the sense that there is clearly a psychological difference between people who are capable of playing in the NBA versus the bulk of college athletes. Like you can rightly point out that AJ Hogarth's like 23 years old, and that's not a kid,
right?
In some sense of the word. But it's also fair to say that AJ Hogarth's not good enough to play in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just because he can't shoot and he gets blocked 4 times at going up for a layup. It's that he's not psychologically strong enough to put consistent performances together.
Yeah.
So what value are you as a fan? I think this is a fair question. What value are you as a fan providing to the team you want to win by putting toxic things out there that these dum-dums have not deleted the app from their phone and will likely encounter.
Seek it out. Seek it out and encounter.
Because they need it. Because at some level they're still emotionally immature and they need to see that negative feedback. Hell, I'll say, we moved to YouTube. We put some video content out there that people hadn't, clearly we're not listening to listeners of our podcast and got negative feedback immediately on it. And it doesn't feel great. But
I thought we agreed.
I say all of this as a backdrop of how we haven't been good custodians.
We all cried after the first upload. I thought that was part of the trust tree of Michael Jones. I thought we had reached an agreement that there were jokes about our appearance, and then there were other. I actually like
that we all live in our mother's basements.
That's right. That one really bothered me because we provide so much to harangue us on with our backgrounds, with Plum with truly nothing, me with barely anything more, Jonesy with what?
With too much.
Are you are those weapons on a medieval? There's enough content that we provide for you to lampoon us with.
Yes.
Mother's basement. Come on.
It's lazy.
That was what bothered me.
It is.
It's lazy. Yeah.
Anyway,
so continue. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts in this space, but it's complicated because they don't get to claim Twitter. It's not theirs. If anyone should not be on the app, it is in fact them. But
yeah, I guess they've chosen to be public figures to a degree. Twitter is a particularly vile place. That is also true. So there is this community aspect to it where it's we are vile for the sake of being vile. It's also true from the player's perspective. We wouldn't even say probably to their face the things that we say on this podcast. We might content wise. If I were at a bar and AJ Hogarth was there spouting off about how he was a fantastic basketball player or something like that, I might be like, well, AJ, how do we account for this and this and this and this and this? But I wouldn't be like, AJ.
Right.
And how?
I think that's right. They're not high schoolers. Mm-hmm. They're all old enough to vote. They're old enough to serve in the military. At least half of them are old enough to drink. They are
old enough to collect 6-figure checks.
Mm-hmm. Or more. They are. Yes, their prefrontal cortices have not finished developing yet. That's true. That's true. There's a lot of reasons why they're allowed to be imperfect. They're allowed to, and they are imperfect. And I don't know. Chief among us.
No, don't say anything.
Chief,
you can't take
no. So stupid. am to be criticized, and rightly,
Alex,
for the unhinged derogatoryisms that I have leveled against countless Michigan State players.
Okay, Plum, you don't have to do this. You don't have to nail yourself to the cross of our sins as a podcast.
Easter is coming. Plum's gearing up for Good Friday right now.
Yeah, that's true. It's nearly here. But no, so I am happy to say, to your point, Kevin, I absolutely would not say a fraction of the things to their faces that I say.
You would be like, AJ, was there a dog near you in this game? And what did you do to defile that dog?
That I say from the safety of my mother's basement. But I stand by the fact that they are absolutely public figures. They are absolutely compensated in a way that opens them up to anything that they're getting on Twitter. And to your point, Twitter is a vile, disgusting, bottomless cesspool of negativity and other kinds of horribles. That if you are choosing to be on Twitter, shame on you. Shame on all of us. And fair game. Fair game. So I'm going to say, yes, from a character perspective, I disrespect myself with half the shit that I say, but then I have to eat that crow. And this podcast does too by keeping me on. And so, yes, from the perspective of how we talk to players, absolutely, we should do better. And everyone should do better from a moral perspective. There is no doubt. But from the sort of societal level, no, I'm not. I don't know. Yeah, people should do better. But at the same time, and with a nod to Graham Couch, who I love and deeply respect, France, chill out, Francis. Isn't that what the upper deck jerk guy routinely posts when any of us get too saccharine or protective over something? That's how that felt to me. They're not above reproach. And yeah, some people go heavy. Then get the fuck off Twitter, because that's what Twitter has become. So, okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair. If you want to be a professional, you want to be compensated like a professional, then act like a professional. And at the same time, to fans, do you think your tweets are helping the team?
No.
Like, was you getting your joke off? Now, if for some reason a player listened to jokes, if a player listened to this podcast and got upset, I'd be like, bro, really? First of all, you were on Twitter and found out about it, and second, then you went and downloaded. That's on you. But I think it's fair. It can go in two directions. Fans could have been better, but last week we had a podcast. We, instead of calling it Fast Friends, we could have just as easily have called it "I Hate This Team."
Yeah,
and I did hate this team. So I don't know. I think it's nuanced and complicated, but I will also say I don't care that you're 23. If you're making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 to wear the uniform of the place that I went to school, then do not pretend that you are immune from criticism. If you don't want to see it, then don't be on Twitter. It's actually easy. Your $700,000 can buy you a lot of fun.
Yep.
And it does.
Anyway.
At the field house. Anyway, should we talk about hockey? Should we talk about a winning program?
You
talk about a winning program?
You skipped the ladies again. You fucking misogynist. My Lord and my God.
We aren't doing any virtue signaling.
Hoarding you did over me last week.
But you didn't let me go. I wanted to talk the Big Ten championship winning teams this week in the order of impressiveness of their feats. So it had to be hockey first, and then we were going to dedicate a 3-hour segment to the gymnastics team and everything that they accomplished at Jennison Field.
You are skipping the team again.
So yes, but that's what my plan was. And then we were going to loop back around to be like, and we're excited for when Robyn Fralick gets her team to that level. And we saw the buds of that, the little green shoots of that in the game against Carolina, because they made a real go of it at the end there. It was
dicey. It was bad at points.
Not good.
And also they seemed like they were just that classic, 8 to 10 point window. Like, we're just going to operate in here. We're going to operate in this deficit for 35 minutes, basically. But then at the end, they got it down to 3. And it was a little like, are we going to pull this off maybe? And Robyn Fralick, to her credit, and I've watched a lot of games this weekend, a lot of college basketball games. There's a lot of coaches, including the one I texted you guys before he became the next head coach of the University of Michigan. A lot of head coaches that are like, why would I use timeouts at the end of games? Why wouldn't I just let my players come up the floor and jack up a 3 or do something like that? Robyn Fralick did not do that. She coached her team to the bitter end and almost got herself in a position for a win. So the good news is the future's bright. Also, the good news is the team wasn't ritualistically sacrificed to South Carolina in the following game the way that the Tar Heels were.
Brutal.
My God. Oh my God. Like the theories of like, wouldn't it be nice maybe to just be seen on the court with South Carolina? I don't know, man. I don't know. Like the drubbing that would have happened there. No, thank you.
Yeah, it's like you want the tournament win, but it's so early for Robyn Fralick. I don't think she needed the tournament win.
Right.
I think I'm not going to say it's better because those women wanted to keep competing, and I would have cheered hard for them to continue to compete. But if we're taking a step back, maybe you didn't need to see that. Maybe for Robyn's program, she can recruit off of aspiration.
Yeah, we were almost there against Carolina. Almost ready to go up against the other Carolina.
Which Carolina? Which Carolina? What are you talking about? Yeah, Carolina.
Well, it starts with North, then it goes to South, and that did go south fast for the North one.
Hockey. Greg, we do now know someone who knows something about hockey. I
can do that. Hockey.
We're in attendance.
I was there. So for those that don't know, and you'd be a fool if you do not. Big Ten championship game was won this weekend at Mun Ice Arena in what is by far, I have to say, the best game at Mun that I've ever attended, the best game at Mun that I can remember going back. I know they won the national championship in 2009. Not a lot has happened since then, and I'm not aware of games even remotely close to this before that. So to win the Big Ten championship game, to win it against that team, and to do it in that way, in a very, if you didn't watch the game, there was a lot of changes in momentum. It seemed like U of M was doing a particularly good job, particularly on defense, I would say. We were doing a particularly good job on offense. I thought that our offensive sets were more efficient than theirs were. We were doing a particularly poor job, it seems like, of clearing out on defense and getting through the neutral zone. But, I know puck. So anyway, it goes to overtime. And it was the tensest in the Big Ten tournament. It's 5-on-5 until the next team scores. And either of those teams truly could have won at any moment. It was tense for 15 straight minutes until a banger off the pipe. MSU wins it. Huge celebration. The whole place is going nuts. And every seat and every standing room only and every suite is filled in that place. And it was just such a tremendous joy to see those guys under those circumstances win that game, to bring home 2 Big Ten championships this year to Mun Ice Arena, which is not a banner that currently hangs. I mean, I know that the Big Ten Hockey Conference has existed for a while now. There isn't a Big Ten hockey banner. These are the beginnings of winning in this conference. So the future is bright. They are now a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. The kicker in all of this is they're in a bracket regional going up against Western Michigan. And then on the other side, there are 2 other teams in that regional, North Dakota and the University of Michigan. So the 3 Michigan teams are all in one bracket in Kansas City.
That's not being played in Michigan? Surely 3 Michigan teams.
Yes. Not only is it not being played in Michigan, it's being played in an arena that's high school size. It's 24 seats, essentially. It's coaches' wives are the only ones that are going to be in attendance at this game. It's really dumb. You should look up the arena that this game is going to be, these 3 games are going to be played in, and just be like, who reached this decision and how?
I had to look this up. Veterans Ice Rink in Ann Arbor.
Mm-hmm.
It's I'm trying to think of what streets it's on. You know where I'm talking about, though, over by the Zingerman's Roadhouse.
Sure. Yeah.
I played a lot of hockey there. The seating for
You're talking
that.
about the A2 ice cube. Is that what you're saying?
No, not the ice cube. No. Veterans ice rink capacity for that's 3,000.
Awesome.
Like this is a place in high school and like middle school I played hockey. That's the level of rink we're talking about. Is it a community rink? Is that what the name is?
I believe so. It's like the Maryland County community of St. Louis.
That's embarrassing.
Ice rink. It looks nice. In fairness, someone put some money into it, but it's so dumb to have these teams playing there. Anyway, yeah, playing a Western team that's in the tournament is formidable already. I heard on my way out the door from On Ice Arena a little bit of a like preview on Western, and I was told that I overheard that they've got a lot of size, but that person that said that thinks that we would match up okay against them. If only we knew someone that knew anything about hockey, this would be so much better. But anyway, it's a formidable team to get through just to whoever wins between North Dakota and Michigan. But the idea, even after going 4-1 against that team this season, the idea of playing them again after such an emotional Big Ten championship game is just like, why? Would I love to go to 5-1? Yes. But will it cost me more of my life for that to happen?
It will.
Also, yes. So,
and also, how wild would it be that you end 4-2 against a team in a season, and yet somehow
they advance?
They're the ones
to the
right who netted out ahead. Like that is bonkers.
Yep.
Yeah. Knowing what I know about North Dakota as a hockey program, I have never rooted for them in my entire life. Maybe this is I hope there's an anthrax leak in the like building for that game or something, like, I don't know. But like, I would so much rather play North Dakota than that team in this, in that game. So that's hockey. Anything else on this? I think we covered it for the hockeys. You guys want to talk about gymnastics real quick?
Yeah, Micro coach 2 times in a row now, Big Ten Coach of the Year. MSU wins the meet to secure a Big Ten title, and they are a 12 seed headed to Gainesville for the NCAAs. What's wild is Michigan, who I believe they've stomped this year, is a 9.
Yeah,
it's some horseshit.
Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
Look, they've been winning all year. They're going to keep winning. It's going to be great. And it's nice that we have 2 teams to root for in the postseason. So that's great.
All right.
Let's do some quick shout outs, and then we're going to head off Grand River. First, we're going to remind you to check out Mama's Mercantile and Eatery off of Clear Lake Road. In
Grass Lake. Grass Lake region.
The Grass Lake region. They are having some Easter brunch specials with some orange cream French toast, which reminds me of my Fast Friends episode from last week and my orange cream drink. Borson open face sandwich and a kale breakfast salad. You can also pre-order.
Have you had that, by the way? The Borson cheese. Do you know what that is? The Borson cheese?
No.
Oh no,
this is going to surprise literally every listener.
Don't tell me.
Never heard of Borson in my entire life.
I wasn't talking to you, but I thought maybe Michael knew. It is this delicious, soft white cheese, and it comes with like chive or garlic and onion. There's flavors in it, and it is incredible. I like it so much that I actually go buy the vegan version of it so that I don't have a full-on explosion. And it is. I mean, it's not as good as the real stuff, but it's damn close. Anyway, so the fact that she's putting this on an open face sandwich is in of itself an achievement that ought to be
That's a win
celebrated.
for you.
Yeah.
There also, let's say you are celebrating the rising of Christ. You can order an Easter dinner for takeout.
You made it sound like he's a loaf of bread in the oven.
slowly
yeasty guy just
covered with a towel.
On Good Friday, I make funeral potatoes. So
there you go. That is.
Yeah. Anyway, Easter dinner available in pre-order sizes of 1, 2, and 4. Ham, scalloped potatoes, green beans, fresh mid rolls, carrot cake. Available for pickup between 2 and 6 p.m. on Easter Sunday. You can call at 734-475-8883 or visit Mama's Merc, MAMASMERC.com to find out more details. And of course, if you go in for a normal dinner, mention Can't Read, Can't Write for 10% off of your bill.
For 400% off. She pays you to eat her food.
And for other people.
4 times.
To our best sponsor, listener Mike Jones.
Wow, to say best sponsor right after another sponsor.
Really a decision.
Yeah.
Sorry. You folks, we need you to go into Mama's Merc and mention Can't Read, Can't Write, please. But anyway, I'm doing another one of this company. This is the Sun Beach Whiskey Company Bonfire Cinnamon. And it is old.
It's got a very pretty, very bright red bottle.
Yeah.
Very lovely.
It really attracts the eye.
It really does.
I got to be honest.
It's like a baboon's rear end. What is it?
I think I prefer this one
over
the and the Flying Aces, like, not making up for flavored whiskeys, they're great. I think for this particular one, I prefer.
Okay.
What you got there?
Well, I'm 35% though. So
I'm drinking the Virginia Distillery Company's port cask finished whiskey. What they describe as a marriage of Scotch malt whiskey and American whiskey finished in port wine casks. And I'll say, a lot of sediment
casks.
A lot of sediment, which is apparently a good sign in a good whiskey.
Authentic. They just have someone who pours a little bit of sand in before they send it out.
You definitely get the toffee notes. It does have the sweetness of the fruit. It's a little more of a burn than I would expect coming off of a port cask, but you get the sweetness, and I think it does a nice job of mellowing out the Scotch. So I got to say, this was a pleasantly palate surprised.
Pair it with a Borson open-faced sandwich of vegan cheese. And over here for the game, we served, for those in attendance here at the house, some Brody's craft cocktails in a handsome little prepackaged bottle. I thought very fairly priced in the market for what you get. And the reactions were very favorable. So get yourself... Head on out to get yourself a Brody's mixed crafted cocktail. There are tons of different varieties. They're all really good. They're all spectacular. And then you don't have to mix them. You just put the bottles out. People grab them for themselves. You don't have to.
Off they go.
You don't have to do all of that stuff with the shaker. Who wants that?
No one.
You don't need to have bitters in the house.
It off as if you did it yourself.
Yes, the shaker. True more prop comedy for us. What a prop comedy episode we have here. Should we go off Grand River, gentlemen?
Yes.
Should we just skip all of this?
I think that's what we have to do.
1 hour.
I don't think we have a choice.
Hold on. I'm gonna do us all a favor.
Even still listening.
I'm gonna cut couple things, and we're gonna limit.
The most important thing for basketball while he's doing this, G League Ignite is shutting down.
Yeah, it's shutting down.
I'm surprised this is not a bigger story in college basketball. I understand that they've got a lot going on right now, but the fact that college basketball teams are no longer going to be competing against this G League kind of like feeder program that a lot of the top talent was strongly looking at and considering. I think is
Intel NIL.
Yeah.
Well, that's the point.
It just goes to show where the market is for NIL.
Correct.
That the G League feeder team is not as appealing as going to a high major college basketball team and getting NIL. So very interesting.
And this maybe is particularly relevant for MSU because it does put one recruit maybe more in play than even before. Bryson Tucker, I believe.
For me, the only surprise here was that it was called the G League Ignite. I'd never heard the Ignite part of this. I'd only ever heard it referenced as G League. So
the G League will remain. Ignite is the team that's specific for kids coming out of high school. That's like, so the G League is filled with what you would consider like dudes who graduated from college potentially or came from overseas and are men, right? Like
it's the development
Ignite
league for the NBA.
Well, right, but Ignite in particular is even more developmental in that they only play a few games, they get compensated, but it is much more focused on developing them to eventually get to the NBA. So these are like, so but you could make $500,000 doing this, and now that NIL's around, like,
what's the purpose?
You're that level recruit that you were eligible for G League Ignite. You probably are making more at college.
Thank you. Well, there we go.
So the one other thing that I think we got to talk about is we touched on it briefly last week, but Tom Izzo got into a little bit of hot water this week by some comments that were taken out of context.
Totally.
Around tournament expansion or restricting mid-majors. And it's a little bit more sort of prescient right now because the second game or the second half of the weekend went chalk. And so there's this separation, or there's this affirmation of Greg Sankey's comments about, the Power 5 schools being better. You have to wonder, though, if the pillaging of rosters that happens from mid-majors to the Power 5 because of the transfer rules has decreased upsets over time, or if that'll happen. But the Izzo got into hot water because Izzo is maybe the most inarticulate person in the entire world.
Yeah.
Is that fair? And
I mean, it's something that we've discussed on this podcast many times, usually with much higher stakes. Like, is the university literally falling apart and Tom Izzo is the only representative for it in the public?
But in this particular case, Tom Izzo was misconstrued and was clearly talking about the idea that is something we've talked about on the pod before, that how is it that mid-majors allow their automatic qualifiers to come from their tournaments and not the person who won the regular season? Feels like the regular season should mean something, but it's just one person. But I don't know. It was funny because actually worried about this.
People read that comment as Tom Izzo wants Indiana State out and he wants more teams like Indiana State out. And it was like, truly what he was trying to say was the exact opposite of that. It was, I want Indiana State here. I hate that they have one off game in a tournament and it bounces them because of all the other factors that are in play. So I also learned in all of this that KenPom gets involved. He just comes down from his statistical mountain and then just refers to himself as KP and just,
which we all know KP is Kevin Palga, but
right. Yeah. The real true statistical KP. But he said, actually, as part of this, the thing that was most interesting to me was everyone takes everything Izzo says as pure as the driven snow. And I was like, oh, good. So this too shall pass, because there have been so many inarticulate things that Izzo has said over the years that he's gotten flack for that apparently people have entirely forgotten. And it meant that this one will also be forgotten eventually someday, and we can all just sort of move on. So,
all right,
there you go.
Let's do these Twitter questions, shall we?
Very good.
All right. First up, listener Mike Jones, who brought me beef whiskey. Is sudden death playoff overtime hockey the most nerve-wracking thing to watch? Greg?
Yes. I can tell you from personal experience that was the 15 longest minutes of my entire life. And I went from burying my head in my lap for 15 minutes to just pure euphoria and didn't know what to do and what was going on. It was like, it was the biggest shift in tone that I've experienced since the Giants play, since not Little Giants, since Rocket. That's what I wanted.
Rocket.
In Spartan Stadium against the unfortunately the Wisconsin team that we would lose against in the Big Ten championship
There
game.
it is. Yep.
So
yes.
So to be clear, Kevin Greck says it's hockey, then Jan 6, and then the 2016
Jesus
election.
God.
Hockey is the most nerve-wracking thing. Okay, great.
Yep, it is interesting. That's good. Got it.
Next up, listener Mike Jones. Is it AJ Hogarth's fault we lost because he didn't start the game with his shorts on backwards? That seems like the only logical explanation for a 1-in-10 night from the floor and a loss. So for those who maybe missed it, AJ Hogarth had his shorts on backwards for the first 5-ish minutes of the Mississippi State game. I honestly don't know why he didn't do that again.
Yeah, Plum. Why would you? It worked then. Why would you make it?
What? I would have. You're in the tournament. Why would you not do that?
Why? I mean, and he wears pants. So what the hell's the difference anyway? His idiotic pants that add nothing but extra weight and burden and friction. Stupid idiot. Next up, bound to win. Who do you put odds on to transfer out this offseason? I think we answered that. Already. Yeah, I think we kind of covered that. It's definitely not Jaden Akins. Hope that's not Jaden Akins' burner account. Next up, Beth Amaro. Hi, Beth. I always like Beth Amaro. That's one of my favorites. Would any of the following things, Beth asks, have made a difference for MSU this year? First, hiring Caitlin Clark's dad to yell at them from the stands.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys see this?
No. I did, yes.
Oh, yeah. She was complaining about something, and he clearly yells down to her to shut up. She was complaining about the officials or something, and he's like, shut up.
That's great. Oh, my God. Number 2, playing each game with the singular goal of getting number 13 sometime on the court. And number 3, forcing number 11 to dress in the dark for every game. The nod.
It's 3. It's 3.
It's got to be 3. Yep.
Or Caitlin Clark's dad.
Yeah, man, it's 1.
Honestly,
can we ask honestly though? Is this team better if Caitlin Clark's on it? I don't.
We'd have a reliable that's 5.
An unfair question.
It would be better if Caitlin Clark's dad was there to be like, "Shut up, you shut up, you pay attention to what Izzo's saying."
Maybe Caitlin Clark's dad joins the team and just rides the bench yelling at the guys to shut the fuck up.
Yep. That's the move. Next up from Jess, is there any scenario in which AJ comes back and is a value add to the team? Or does Izzo need to fully cut ties even if AJ wants to come back?
Jess, come on.
We explored the infinite universes, and the answer is no.
We did. The answer is no.
Yeah, well, Greg, when we talked about this, we thought after the last year's Sweet 16, there was reason for optimism with AJ.
Sure. Even Tom thought.
AJ has now fully shown us who he is.
Yeah. And I just want to thank Jess, in the spirit of Easter, this redemptive, resurrected opportunity. It's available for everybody, but just not AJ. Okay.
Yeah, leave that boulder in front of the tomb.
So I was just going to say, leave his ass in the tomb. Yikes. Yeesh.
Next up from Ann Ryan. Jonesy, what's the plan to fill our weak spots? Kind of covered this as well.
Get someone. Truly, I think MSU needs 2 transfers.
At least 2 transfers, Michael. Should not even be afraid to say it out loud.
I don't think there's not enough scholarships. There's
not currently
only one of Madi,
but
yeah. Well,
no,
I'm just saying.
To Kevin's point.
Next up from Aaron Plum. Sorry, Jonesy, I'm jumping all over you. Is Izzo going to evolve at all this offseason or continue doing the things the exact same way?
Well, I'm gonna take the unpopular position here. I think what he said in that post game was convincing. I think it was heartfelt. I think that the journalists did a good job interrogating him. The woman standing right to his right was like, so
Madeline
you're
Kennedy.
basically,
yeah.
She basically said, well, you're almost dead. So aren't you done yet? Like, I mean, it's not going to happen, right? I mean, and I was like, oh shit, good question. And he answered it. So anyway, I thought some of these questions were hard hitting. Chris Solari, of course, asked no hardballs. So I thought that was striking. And until Mark Montgomery takes the job at UDM, I was
just going to say, we didn't talk about this.
Until 3 players have been shown the door, until you see Izzo start acting like the CEO of a program that needs to change and less like the caring paternal figure that he just is at his heart, there will be no changes. No matter what he says about needing to adapt and learn and stop complaining about the clouds in the sky, we got to actually see, we've got to see significant turnover among both the coaches and the players. And that's how you'll know.
I think his words after the game to me were so heartfelt and more serious than I think I've seen from him the entirety of the season. That if we don't see serious changes, I don't know that I'll believe him again.
That's fair. Yeah, that's right.
This is the moment. This is make or break for Tom Izzo.
Agreed.
My opinion matters the most. Next up is
unpronounceable.
Rank these 3 sounds: puck off the post for a game-winning goal, Cohen card dunking, and cracking a beer.
Ooh, the timing! He can read ahead.
Can occasionally read. Is motivated at times.
Wow. I am impressed. I am less impressed than I am. I guess what I was trying to say is I'm not surprised that Michael is ranking the beer number 1. Yeah, that was fair. That was fair. That was fair. But I'll say the puck off the post for a game-winning goal is still a heavenly sound. And until Cohen Carr can do more, I should say offer more than just sloppy fouling at the end of games, he stays third for me.
You know that's a wrong take now.
I don't care.
He was a good soldier. Next up, Alex Gross. Where would this team be if Joey Hauser stayed?
Ooh. Oh, my Lord.
Speaking of the infinite universes, my God.
Well, national championship. Could you imagine if we had a solid 4? Could you imagine the things we would have done?
44% from behind the arc. Yeah.
100%. You would have had that reliable guy backstopping Tyson, taking some pressure off AJ to be anything other than what he is. Useless. And I don't know. Wow.
I have to imagine that Joey Hauser just didn't want to be in college anymore. I don't understand that, but
he had a farm to run somewhere.
It's not as if the money wasn't there for Joey Hauser. So, I can respect someone. I don't get it, but I can respect someone who said, I'm ready to move on.
That hay ain't gonna bail itself.
Hay dried out.
He's got to spray it first without. You can scoop more up when it's wet. It binds together that way. We have new listeners who are like, what are they talking about?
Well, here's the thing. Sometimes we get feedback of like, these guys never played sports. And to an extent, that's true. But I think each one of us did play some kind of sport at some point. Truly, never in his entire life has Mike Jones baled hay, and he has no idea how wet hay behaves versus dry hay behaves. Don't listen to him on this. He's never picked up a pitchfork in his entire life.
You're saying things that are literally wrong right now.
Oh, if you baled hay?
I've certainly worked with hay. I got to use hay for my lawn. And when it gets wet, it clumps together.
I have worked hay.
That's like papier mâché. Like papier mâché.
Straw.
To straw.
That is straw.
You're right. You're right. I am. Next up, Carter Fry.
Wow.
Which potential Porter guys do you realistically see Izzo going after?
I don't have time to do the research on this, Carter.
Yeah, Carter.
I just assume they exist and can be gotten.
Carter, thanks for being a first-time questioner, but like truly, if this is the level
Carter
of content that you're expecting,
this is the laziest.
This makes your comment even worse and more accurate at the same time.
Yeah. I appreciate you, Carter, that you thought that we were going to come up with some great names here, but you don't know
that one guy.
Yeah,
the tall dude, the one that's big.
Yeah, there's two white dudes in the portal right now who score lots of points. I know that. There's the one from Stanford, and then there's another one from a mid-major who's also good at basketball. The one from Stanford, though, is very popular, and Foster Lawyer said anyone who thinks that is an idiot because he plays drop coverage.
I've already joked that we should send Derek Nix as an emissary to NC State to try to get their roly-poly guy to come up to MSU.
Roly-poly guy?
He's a big
Which segues
fella.
next into Carter's question. Who are you rooting for now that MSU is out? And I have to say, it's got to be NC State or Iowa State.
Yeah, I think that's right. I'll tell you who it's not. It's not Purdue. And I'll tell you why. Matt Painter, for the first time in his fucking life, got that team out of the first weekend. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, what an achievement. But his pre-tournament massaging of the media around how, and frankly, preemptively working the refs around how unnamed referees coming up to him and saying, oh my God, anytime anyone's ever guarding Zach Edey, it's a foul. Is
that your impersonation of Matt Painter in the way that I have my Juwan Howard impersonation?
Yes.
Continue.
You're gonna need to memorize that voice. Get yourself a touchdown.
I can do it anytime, and I'll always be accurate.
It's like Tina Belcher.
Yeah, it's Tina Belcher meets like. I'm not gonna let it go any further than that.
There's some flourish.
It's something not good. How absolute, I mean, what a just clown. Come on. I can't even, you all know he's horrible. We don't have the time for me to go on a long rant, but I would like to, because just fucking useless. Just
let me ask
useless.
You this. Plum, do you think
Tina
it's
Belcher
effective?
meets Martin Short?
Do you think referees are going to hear that and be like, oh, it must be true? Or do you think there's already like Zach Edey has a reputation in referee circles? Like he's a known commodity.
He is a known commodity, particularly in the Big Ten. And the truth is they split up these guys by conference. You don't see conference crews working together, except for the fact that a lot of guys who are in the Big Ten are also working in the consortium that handles other D1, and they're the ones who are naturally going to be selected into the tournament. But the tournament officiating, and I know we were going to talk about it earlier, on balance, has been consistent. It is, as it is every season of the tournament. They generally do a good job. They break out of their shells, and they generally do a very good job. I don't think that Zach Edey has gotten the kind of calls the Big Ten gave him this year, and I will never understand it. He got away with insane things that objective watchers can just see are unexplainable, inexplicable. So I don't truly know.
That athletic article, Plum, was bothered me.
Yeah, that was
like
fair. That's yep.
That like because this notion that he's getting fouled every time. Well, people are fouling out regularly against Zach Edey. So yes. I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
correct.
You sort of Hanukkah'd out the fouling out. Like you made it a miracle. They made it to the end of the game. I'm confused. Right. Like what you mean by this. Meanwhile, Zach Edey's committing murder, and they're like, well, she's just tall. He's just tall. But that isn't. We let that other foul go. No. He elbowed someone,
people in the face consistently, and they were handing out flagrants like it was their job, and they have throughout the tournament. They did in the Big Ten tournament. Anytime your hand got anywhere near a guy's face, if you were of the same height, but Zach Edey just got a pass. So no, it's utter horseshit. I truly do not understand. And I'll tell you this as one with an experience in this, because in soccer, you see this, particularly when you're working high school games or youth games, where you will have one player or a couple players who are just disproportionately large physically, hormones, etc., compared to their players. And those kids don't get special protection. If anything, we call more fouls on them because they're ungainly. They have more trouble controlling their bodies. Their feet are too big. They don't know how to move normally yet, and they get into trouble. And so, if anything, they get disproportionately disadvantaged. And how Zach Edey, how it swings the other way for him is just, I don't know. It is
truly
unreasonable.
think it's his Lenny Small vacant look that people just take pity on him and do not whistle him.
Well, Greg, as someone who's tall, do you find that you don't accommodate people?
The world's giving you a pass?
No, just the idea that like somehow, Zach Edey's 7'4", so like, yeah, his elbow's at somebody's face, and that just happens. Fuck off. No, I'm sorry. It's his job to make sure that that doesn't happen.
I think it's the exact same thing for me. I benefit from it in the same way. It's my Lenny Small affect. People give me the benefit of the doubt in the space that I need to just operate. And I'll
just say this as we move on. Everyone look up what the actuarial tables say about the life expectancy of somebody who's 74.
Oh my Lord. All right. Well, sorry, Carter. Sorry, Carter.
He just had
I hijacked.
Players.
No, because fuck Purdue and fuck Zach Edey. Zach Edey
to go on a rant.
It is Nancy Kerrigan. It is terrible basketball.
Where's Jeff Gillooly when you need him? All right. Next up, Thomas Sambiasi. For Michael, how long can we go without news of basketball staff changes before we're allowed to get nervous?
This is without is the operative here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
6 weeks.
Okay.
Less than that.
They're going to try. I was trying to be conservative. I was trying to be conservative.
You are just, God, this poor kid needs something. My Lord.
6 days. What are you
well, he's got about
weeks?
6.5 hours. If I don't hear before going to sleep, I'm in trouble.
3 weeks? I'll give it 3 weeks.
All right, and Kevin Greck, our online bits about decidedly mid-teams bowing out in the second round of the NIT, partly to blame for so many programs turning down the invite this year?
Could be. People are saying.
Other reasons teams bowed out, I think, was because, they weren't invited. Or others because they were afraid that their coach might assault someone else at the game. So,
indeed. Next up from Verbose Dutch, if MSU doesn't add a center for 24-25, how will you mentally approach the season? Hopefully get reserved to the likelihood that we've reached a wheezing end of an era. Very disappointed, but still emotionally invested, or indifferent and just biding our time for a new chapter.
Okay, definitely not the first one. Definitely not hopeful.
Yeah, it's 2. The answer is 2.
It's 2. Because I can't imagine a future scenario where I'm not emotionally invested in this team. No. I'm a John L. Smith kid. What else are you going to say? I'll never not be emotionally invested.
Yeah.
Izzo will leave someday and I will. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So very disappointed and still emotionally invested. Next up from Ev Marie Jonesy, what are your thoughts on how much criticism about the players online is okay given NIL money they're getting now? We kind of covered this already.
Yeah, and I think
Michael Jones just talked about the actuary tables for a 7'4" guy on the podcast. So.
That's based in fact.
You want to get
it is.
Personal.
Our own Ken Pomeroy here, just reading out numbers and statistics.
Ken Pom should have a 3-dimensional chart that's offensive efficiency, usage, and then also likelihood to make it to 65 on 3 axes, and you can explore it in augmented
Will he
reality.
be able to collect Social Security? No, because he's Canadian.
But 3 axes was good.
I don't know. Yeah. We've said plenty of mean things. We've not taken down any of our podcasts. We won't take it down any of our podcasts. I think we're going to try and maybe do some things a little bit better. But AJ Hoggard sucked at basketball, and I'm not sad that his time here has ended. I don't have a problem saying that out loud.
Right. No, I think it is one thing to say AJ sucks on Twitter. That is acceptable. It is never acceptable to say, AJ, go kill yourself, or AJ, things like that. Things like that are never acceptable. self-harm, any kind of harm, inspiring others, doxing. That and when I said earlier that Twitter is what it is, and like, let me just clarify my own remarks and say that kind of remark is never acceptable. It is absolutely Twitter, which is why Twitter is hell, but it's never acceptable. And no one, public or not, should be subject to that.
And never tag a player. I'd say that about a pro too, though. Like truly a professional. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't. I do think it's. I think interpersonally, I think it's thirsty. I think it makes you look ugly, but I'm not against it. I mean, and I wouldn't do it because again, I think it's ugly and it makes you look thirsty. But I don't think that I wouldn't put a rule against that. So to your point anyway, Ev Marie, I think that even this podcast, I think we're a little divided to what extent the criticism is fair. But that shouldn't surprise you if you've listened to me ever.
Next up, Matt Wiggins, Puck Talk.
I wish we had someone that could say one fucking thing about hockey. Just
maybe
one.
Greg was like, there was like cold and fun.
Literally. Yeah. I mean, it's like we go there and we still don't know anything. There has got to be a retired hockey coach from like Manitoba that is willing we could give money to, even. You know what I mean? I have no
Mama Leaf is like Canadian. We could invite her on. She knows.
Let's have Mama Leaf on. It's her birthright. I was going to say, if only there was someone like Jerome the Mammal or something that we could bring on, but Mama Leaf is a Canadian. She could come bearing her maple leaf, and then she could set it down and
this is interesting.
Hockey.
Mammopoleaf, mammalian. Mammopoleaf, mammalian. People are saying.
Well, it'd be nice. Anyway, next up, Jer Bear. Which basketball player will have the longest and most tense exit meeting with Izzo this week? I think this is actually a very interesting phrasing of the question. Jer, you clearly know a lot about interpersonal things. Keep exploring passions. It's valuable. What's
I don't know what that means?
I don't know. I'm just saying he should. I just was wishing we knew someone about hockey. It doesn't matter. Anyway.
Wow.
This is AJ. This is a good question.
The answer is AJ, and I'll tell you why. And I'm saying longest and most tense because Tom's just going to refuse to meet with him. AJ's like, Tom's secretary is like, hey, AJ Hogarth wants to get on your calendar to talk about extending this. And Tom's like, I'm going to be out of town.
You think AJ's trying to get a meeting? You think AJ is the one who's trying to get a meeting?
Literally, he knows. Even now, he finally knows. And Tom's like, no.
I'm picturing this like an episode of Entourage, where she's like, "E, did you get that meeting?" It's like, he's not. We gotta go see him. It's just, and then there's the back and forth, and this is resolved over 6 episodes.
You were definitely the guy on this pod that watched all of Entourage.
I actively hated Entourage while it was on television, but I was surrounded by people that liked it, including our social media manager, and it was difficult.
Disreputable. You know what? I'm going to go after her on Twitter. How's that?
Yes. And make it as personal as you can.
I will.
Let's stay on the podcast after we stop recording so I can give you some information that you can use. Whew, finally. Okay.
Next up from Jer Bear, no second question, just a plug for listener Mike Jones for providing excellent drinks. Been covered. He provides the most excellent drinks.
Ben covered. Good job.
Next up, Kate Wall. Do you miss Malik Hall yet? I do, and now that the season's over,
Lord,
feel safe to admit it too.
All right, well, we did earlier, Kate. Damn it!
And I don't think any of us said we missed him. I want to be very clear about what I said about Malik.
And we also didn't say we apologize. Those two things did not happen.
So, Kate, the bit continues, and I like that you pressed this wrinkle. Next up from Kate Wall, over under 1.5 transfers in, 1.5 transfers out. Well, it has to kind of work that way, right?
It's got to be over.
I think a lot of us on here have forgotten that the portal giveth, but the portal also taketh away.
No one has forgotten that. No one has. Maybe Tom Izzo has forgotten that, but certainly no one on this podcast has forgotten that the portal taketh away. My Lord, we certainly haven't forgotten it in football.
Let me ask the two of you and also Kate Wall. Truly, is there anyone on this roster that the portal would be like truly like? How did that happen? Like if they disappeared from it, Jeremy Fears, maybe
Trey. I think Trey probably would be a.
Okay. I don't. Again, I would just say no one that has left has had such a breakout moment that any team could, in my mind, could convincingly come calling them in a way that we couldn't beat. In other words, like, a mid-major or something could absolutely go after any of these guys, but they will not have the resources, and they're not the blue blood that this program.
Mid-majors don't go after; they vulture things.
Mm-hmm. Well, but even like another D1 semi non-blue blood pro, like a Wake Forest or something, I don't know, could theoretically come after Jeremy Fears, but like, God, they're not going to get him over Michigan State. I mean, that'd be very surprising to me, unless you had a situation where someone's family member was ill in another place and they wanted to transfer to be closer to home. Apart from situations like that, which happen, and we've seen that they've happened to this program, in fact. I don't see it happening. It just no one was good enough, and poor fucking Jeremy Fears, although the media won't say it, but Fears would be the one, but he would have been the one.
Yeah, over. Okay. That's my take.
I'm gonna go beverage. You guys keep going.
It's over, except that with a time it'll probably be an over and an under, and that it's going to be fucking horrible.
Oh, God. And then just Nick Sanders gets 2 scholarships, and he can read both of them back and forth on the bench. Plum from Joe Ashworth. Relief, right? That's what I'm feeling. The deep exhale after a long, cold winter, a warm breeze that carries on it the promise of a true spring, a season of renewal, growth, change, and all good things under the sun. Yes? This is kind of the premise of our opening, but continue.
Joe Ashworth is a Christian, and he believes in God. And I know this because this is he is talking about the end of the Lenten liturgical season here as the people of the way walk toward the light that cometh on Holy Easter. And if you're not, Joe, you're delusional. And I don't know. It is relief, I guess, to some extent. But my God, I don't know. I guess to me, what I'm saying is I'm not sure that the long, cold winter is over yet. There's a lot of things I'm expecting to see in this offseason by Tom Izzo to confirm the things he has said now on record, that things are going to change. Because until they do, we're going to be living in the cold for some time yet.
Well, we've got a lot of questions kind of to this extent. So the next up from Spartan 18770, is it more important that Izzo goes after a couple of new assistant coaches or players next year?
Well, let me ask you this question. Why does it have to be either? Why can't it be both?
And I think there's no way that it's more than one assistant coach, especially if one spot opens up. That's it. That's what you're getting. But I think it's players. I think it's players.
Yeah, it does have to be players.
This team needs an injection of new lifeblood into it.
That's right.
If we could get something that's also experienced, that would be a bonus, because
so much the better. Yep.
It's going to be a turning of the page for this program. We are truly entering a new era.
But seriously, Doug Wojcik's got to get the fuck out eventually, because Jesus God.
But he provided the media all those great all those great human interest stories about his.
The only thing he does with any consistency is he looks a lot like Northwestern's coach Collins. That's literally the only thing that he can do with any real meaning. So too bad.
Words cannot describe how much I would rather have Collins on the bench than Doug.
Yeah.
I think Collins should be getting looks for a lot. Like Louisville needs to be calling him up.
Truly. The way that he whispered sweet nothings into Boo Booey's ear, there's probably going to be some investigations around improper coach-player relationships soon. So you might hold on to your plaudits until that. Also, the problem is that Collins is like the least Louisville coach, perhaps of all time. So that might not happen anyway. You're saying not greasy enough.
It's exactly what I'm saying. Next from Spartan 18770, Jonesy, what player has this basketball staff developed not named Tyson Walker?
First of all, Spartan 18770, I would reject your premise. I don't think they developed Tyson Walker.
There it is. There it is.
That was Tyson Walker
Salty.
the entire time. It was just a Tyson Shootmore the entire time.
Yeah. Plateaued, frankly.
If you want to point to someone, it's Trey Holloman. That who has made a jump in the last 4 years, truly, and it's Trey
within himself. Okay, well, I mean, Madi maybe. I mean, in terms of within himself, not within the team, but
no, I'm not. No, Madi, no.
Okay,
pass.
Great.
I mean, truly, I'm with. There's no one that has truly developed on this roster.
Joey Hauser, maybe his defense did get a lot better the last year, but from the team we're talking about, I would reject the premise that Tyson got better. And if you had to pick someone, it's Trey Holloman.
Noted. All right, next up, the Keith Ski, my favorite Twitter questioner, by the way, is always been and shall remain so. With these words, Hogard should be gone. Sing a song, do a dance.
Go to YouTube, listeners. There's a dance happening. Choose your favorite.
I'm gonna move on for everybody. More likely to leave Carr or Booker?
We know this.
Well, Booker said he's back, so it's got to be
That's
Carr.
What I'm saying. We know this. Which means the last question from the Key Ski. This is the worst 4-year stretch ever, right?
It better be.
Certainly it is from our time watching. There's no doubt about that.
There's that stretch of players that were so forgettable.
That you've forgotten them.
Yeah.
The post
what year was
Lucas years were kind of, it took a minute. Or I should say probably more accurately, the post Draymond years, it took a minute.
When was Bess around?
Mid-aughts were a little rough.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's already 2024. I don't know where the time has gone. My Lord and my God. We won the national championship in 2020. I don't know where I am right now. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
All right, next up, Nate C. Was it better that Fears didn't play this season? He likely thinks, correctly, hopefully, that he can fix MSU next season. But had he played this season, I don't think it would have been substantially better. But his mindset might be worse going into next season.
Nate, I don't know that you can agree that I can agree with this because I don't know that Jeremy Fears wouldn't have supplanted AJ Hogard as the starting point guard. I just don't know.
I don't think there'd be any more banners in the rafters. Certainly, I don't think this team is going to a Final Four even with Jeremy Fears. I don't think they were winning a Big Ten championship even with Jeremy Fears. But it could have started the process that's going to begin next year already, right. And it wouldn't be as stark a change as it's going to be. I think that's the only way we benefit from having Jeremy Fears play this season.
And we don't know what he's going to be like post being shot.
Yeah, that is always, it needs to be a lingering concern. Until we know the answer to that, it needs to be a lingering concern. Next up from Nate C. Plum, what did you do to celebrate MSU's Big Ten tournament victory? Are you ready to admit your mistakes and give them the lead position they have rightfully earned? I assume this is about gymnastics.
I hope so. I don't think I've ever been on this podcast not honoring or acknowledging women. I've always acknowledged and honored women on this podcast. Unlike some of my co-hosts who refuse to acknowledge and honor women. So I refuse to answer this question.
Birds of a feather.
Refuse to honor or acknowledge this question because I've only ever honored and acknowledged women. Next up, Buck Gino III. On a scale of 1 to bullshit, How much do you hate the NCAA hockey regional pairings?
This
is good. Is this what you guys do? Do you go through all the questions and then just kind of work backward the outline from what they're asking here?
It's almost like we got our finger on the pulse here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is so dumb that the 3 Michigan schools are in one regional and that regional can only be watched in person by 42 people total.
And that region is in St. Louis. Because to be clear,
that those are
North Dakota has 42 people in it. Like, no, you said that you understand that they got it in advance. I'm sorry, Kevin. It's a community ice rink. They didn't get it that far in advance. And if they wanted to rent out Veterans Ice Rink in Ann Arbor, they could do that. Like,
yeah. I know of a bigger rink here on campus that's going to be empty during these games, and they would be thrilled to host them. Absolutely thrilled.
Next up from Beppe Plum. Oh, go. So, with the possibility of doxing myself and ending up creating 34 burners to deflect said doxing, a weekend pod, Turf Nerds, is worth a listen. Lawn talk for Jones, Lord talk for Plum. Greg can maybe figuring out my connection. Thanks from your pal, Dadopoleaf. I finally made it. I refuse to believe this.
Ooh.
That's not possible. That's not possible, right? That sense of humor is not living there, right?
Hold on. What? I'm sorry. I guess I'm missing it. What is it? He created a pod? Is that what he's saying?
No, Dadopoleaf, as in Mamopoleaf.
No way. That's Beppe Plum? That's impossible.
We're going to talk about this offline because I don't think that that's the sense of humor. That's not also
Beppe Plum has said Beppe Plum was Tyrone Couch.
Who was
that's
someone who listened to Couch before he listened to our podcast, and it many times has said that this person is a teacher in Tennessee, and is married to a. Well,
we also know Mamopoleaf. Mamopoleaf's been to our tailgates, but I guess we never got introduced to Dadopoleaf.
Huh?
All right, married to a dental hygienist in Tennessee.
I've got questions. Oh my God, wait, does Mamopoleaf live in Tennessee? Is Mamopoleaf an absolute vixen? I have questions!
Next up,
all right,
from
Jonesy,
Beppe Plum, get well balloons on roadkill. Funny or rather daft?
Well, that's how we know Beppe Plum is truly from the South. We're trafficking in roadkill humor here. What is going on?
Next up, Mamopoleaf. Michigan State dominates the third period and a good portion of overtime last night. We do have a hockey pro. We got to get Mamopoleaf on the pod.
Yeah, we got to get
So what does it really say about the defensibility of a hockey tournament title format when the possibility of the other team winning was so close if they had to put the puck into the net first? Wait, what?
I think what she's saying is the format requires the sudden death. She didn't love that. A hockey tournament that has a sudden death element, like, what are you doing? But I'll say, before they had what they have now with soccer, golden goal was what created this sort of thing. The golden goal was the initial and original sudden death.
Is that a goal where it's sort of like in the 3-point contest, there's the ball that's like the Mountain Dew Baja Blast ball, and like it counts for more?
That's what he means, exactly. That's exactly what he
got it. Nailed it.
You're a detestable person.
Not even like just for this, but generally. I guess I would ask
I evoke emotion, and I'm comfortable with that.
I love watching 3-on-3 hockey, and I love watching shootouts. But I would ask, actually, isn't it, if you're choosing a champion, isn't it really the best way to just be like,
it is.
The game continues until one of you scores, and we're not 100%. Changing the game.
And I think in soccer, I've said this for a long time, they should bring back golden goal. Instead of, so they, right now in soccer, for at least the World Cup level, you have the game 90 minutes, and then you have I think in FIFA, it's two 15-minute halves. And you play them both in their entirety. Doesn't matter. You play them in their entirety. But at the end of that, then there is no clock. and you either keep in mind or you start reducing. The problem with reducing players on a soccer pitch is it actually becomes enormously difficult to cover that much ground.
Just like a lot of
without
green
11
grass
players
that starts to emerge.
But you could also begin to shorten the field. I don't know how you do that all necessarily, but I'm just saying I think bringing golden goal back makes so much more sense because I think, to your point, and I agree with you completely, it is a better way to end the game. Shootouts, penalty kick, kicks from the penalty mark. Nah.
Shootouts are good because it's like the game is definitely going to end by this time, and we can move on, and it doesn't need to last 4 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
So I get why they exist in the regular season, but I think in this format at this time, it seems like 5-on-5 until one of you scores is the way to do it.
100%.
Finally, from Monopoly, Jonesy. Oh, go ahead. I'll do it.
When you were a kid, okay.
Oh God, Jesus.
When you were a kid, we got to get used to the new format. There is a latency. We're thrown off by this. Jonesy, when you were a kid, did you eat the stuff on your plate that you didn't like first and then save the good stuff for last, or vice versa? Akin to the pod format, again, using the word for the
I don't like it.
And then the word
I don't like it
for format. Just type out format. It seems like it would take more effort than just typing out format.
It's like you're very comfortable saying 4chan.
That's also a concern. Maybe where she actually comes from. Always leading with the football, basketball, and then saving gymnastics and hockey reporting for last. She kind of called the shot on that, and she was right about it. But Jonesy, how did you approach your plate growing up as a wee lad?
And it's not the same. Eat the good stuff first. Duh.
Yeah, maybe you'll get away with not eating the bad stuff later,
Yeah, or eating less of it because you ate good on the other things.
Yeah, that is the move. That's the savvy move. Finally, from the Upper Deck Jerk guy, Plum, what center should Izzo get out of the portal that's a realistic chance of being there? I think we covered this already, right?
We don't know. We just know he exists.
Yeah. How long do you have before we have just 2 major football
conferences who control everything?
Oh, yes, I think that's what he's asking here.
Yeah, that is in fact what he's asking.
I would say it's not long. I would say it's the next 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years might be generous, honestly.
Truly, but I think it's clearly where we're headed.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen, that is going to wrap up our episode. And thank you, of course, everyone for listening. It was a year of sports.
One that you can drown the memory out of using Brody's Crafted Cocktails.
And Sun Beach Whiskey Company, Bonfire Cinnamon.
Or the Virginia Distillery Co's pork gas. I think I said pork cast finished, which is a whole different flavor.
Listeners, go on YouTube and look at how much scotch was in that bottle at the beginning of the episode, and then
I'm not. Nah.
Scrub forward to see how much scotch is in that bottle now.
No, please do it at 2x speed because need that.
It's a scotch episode, gentlemen, to end the episode. Or to end the year.
The season.
To end the season. There, a scotch episode.
Made us drink.
Scotch episode.
Go green.
Go white.